And you'll see that Cialdini, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, um, restates much of what we've talked about previously in the course in terms of some of persuasion techniques, but what he adds in and his kind of point we have him at this point in the course is that he is very specifically talking about influence in working across the division of labor and up the hierarchy. He's talking about exercising influence where we don't have authority, although he does include some examples of where we would have authority over people. But a big part of the article is about this working across the division of labor up the hierarchy, and it is also very compatible with this topic of power in politics, which includes and follows up on the notion of building coalitions that's kind of central to our discussion of the garbage can model of decision making. The other thing that I like about this article, which is an interview actually, but it's a very well structured one, and I think the points are well made in the interview, is he gives a very good sense about the kind of limits of authority of a position. In many instances, he's talking about instances where we have no authority, but he's also even where we have authority, he kind of emphasizes instead this value of leadership and getting people to collaborate, cooperate, rather than seeking compliance, and how powerful that is in getting people to follow through behaviorally with what we're trying to accomplish as a manager. I'd like you to look for um, in particular, how effective leaders use social information and how they structure their persuasion to access social information. One of the things that he talks about is the importance of kind of eliciting peer support, which he argues, and I think we can understand why that peer support is a really valuable part of the persuasion of groups or work groups or departments, or people of any reluctance to work with us personally. I think another key point in the article, and see it, and it relates to some stuff we've already talked about, trust networks, but Cialdini really kind of hammers home and illustrates how important the reciprocity of favor exchanges in establishing trust. First, favors, when doing favors for people, they tend to like us better because we've done a favor for them. And that liking is a starting point for building trust. And in the exchange of favors over time, that trust is really starts to become quite powerful, and it's the fundamental basis for the kind of coalitions that we talked about in the garbage can model. The final thing is give some attention to his emphasis on commitment techniques, especially as we think about a garbage can coalition where we may have something that looks like a meeting where we can use publicness to try and get people to make this commitment to follow through on courses of action. But if not, um, and very frequently it's not because people join our coalition not out of common cause, but really they join us because they see some value to them or through the reciprocity of prior favor exchange. Getting them to follow through, we need to give really explicit attention to commitment, and Cialdini, suggests things like getting things in writing and kind of also using publicness and irreversibility. And you'll see he doesn't use exactly those commitment terms, but even his use of a bunch of small behaviors incrementally to try and build commitment is exactly along the lines of what we talked about in irreversibility. So as you read this article, really think about, working across the division of labor, working up the hierarchy with people who have superior authority. There are a few comments on also mobilizing your work team. But the key thing throughout all of this is that these are leadership techniques, not authority techniques. And I think that's something that I'd really like you to watch for and understand in this article.